Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Soldiers Tech Battlefield. I'm your host, Mark Watson, otherwise known as Soldier Knows Best. And on this episode, we got a special guest in the house, MKBHD, otherwise known as Marques Brownlee. How you doing, man?
Not bad. It's a quiet day, but I'm glad to be here, of course.
All right, well, I'm glad you're on the show, man. And I think this is fitting to have you on this show because we're going to be talking about Apple and Google and what they can learn from each other. And we're going to be talking about three different kind of categories. One is going to be cell phones, and then tablets. And then the third one is going to kind of be a free-for-all, talking about laptops, glass, and all the other stuff. Now, starting with the smartphones, they're easily the two biggest players in the game right now. And I personally think that Apple can probably start doing more updates throughout the year instead of one really big update that brings new features, and kind of learn from Google to do supplemental updates to kind of bring features constantly throughout the year. Is that something you think Apple can learn from Google?
Yeah, definitely. I see them both learning from each other a lot in this. I see Google slowing down updates and also taking a little bit more control of their OS and pushing updates through the Play Store. So actually, instead of having to fix a bug in the keyboard through a whole over-the-air update of the OS, they can take the keyboard, bring it to the Play Store, and update it that way. So Google can slow down operating system updates, and Apple, learning from the pace of tech around them, can speed up operating system updates. I don't think they'd have a problem with maybe 2 or even 3 times a year updating their OS.
Right. I mean, because they don't have nowhere near the amount of devices that, Google and other Android cell phone manufacturers have to worry about. I mean, Apple basically has, 10 or 15 probably at the most, including all the generations that they'll have to update with the software update. And I think that will help with this whole having to have iOS 7 be this full dump of features that they should have had a year plus ago, and that Google is doing constantly. Now, one thing I think you may probably be in agreement with me here is that, Google is definitely more open than Apple. I think everybody agrees with that. When it comes to developers coming to get into the App Store, when it comes to just opening up their operating system. And now, is that something that Apple can learn from Google?
Yeah, I see a mutual a mutual learning from each of these companies. I see Google being able to learn from Apple, saying, hey, Apple has so much control over their operating system and all the apps that go up there that they control the experience. They control the quality. They can make it as high quality and a refined experience as they want. Google being open source, they don't really have quite as much control. On the other hand, Google can learn more from Apple Apple can learn more from Google because Google is just so friendly with their developers. They have a great relationship with the app developers, with beta testing all kinds of stuff, with Glass, with pretty much everything that they do with Google I/O, and the way they interact with their developers is really, really open and friendly, and I think Apple could learn from that too.
Well, definitely. I think that, if both of these companies just look at that for the smartphone marketplace, they can definitely make each one better in their own regards. Now, we're going to skip over smartphones and go ahead and move on to tablets. Now, tablets have been kind of quiet lately. Hasn't really been that much going on, and I think the iPad is still definitely the number one king in this tablet market space. Now, what can Google learn from Apple when it comes to tablets?
Yeah, Apple controls the entire tablet space with the iPad and the iPad mini. And one thing that's been really obvious is their advertising and their marketing. Apple puts a lot more into getting their marketing image right than I would say Google does. I've seen way more billboard ads for the iPad mini specifically than I have for like any other Android tablet put together. Maybe a little bit of the Nexus 7 here and there, but I'm not seeing it. So I think Google could learn a lot from the way Apple presents themselves and really sells a tablet and makes it seem worthwhile.
Yeah, and I agree because I think the Nexus 7, for the bang for its buck, I think it's a better tablet than the iPad mini. For that price point, you really can't beat $200. And then for the features that it brings to the plate, but a lot of people still don't know about the Nexus 7, because Apple is just so much better at marketing, or I think Apple just really takes the time to market and spends money on it, where Google's kind of like, hey, we're going to get this out. Our diehard people are going to buy this tablet no matter what. But I definitely think that Apple could learn with the pricing of the Nexus 7 and all the other Android tablets like the Nexus 10. Apple doesn't always need to make a gazillion dollars. Even with something like the iPad mini, maybe the next generation could be priced a little bit lower to really compete with something like the Nexus 7, especially if Google gets on board and really starts marketing it. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, no doubt. Apple is really proud of where they stand in terms of, the quality part of it, but they can always go lower. I know they can compete at $200, and I feel like they could take the next generation of the iPad mini down from, I think it's 330 baseline right now. They could probably take that down a little more.
Yeah. Now, do you think there's a problem with the Android tablets about how many different variations of the OS is out there and all these different skins, and that may be going into the smartphone kind of thing as well? But you think that's a problem on Android tablets?
Yeah, it's true. Google's still trying to figure out what their tablet image is going to look like. If you look at a Nexus 7 next to a Nexus 10, next to maybe a last generation Android tablet, the Zoom running Android 4.3, it's just all over the place. They're all over the map trying to refine that. Obviously, they're getting it down with 4.1 to 4.3 here. They're gonna basically tighten up that tablet image, but still, all the different skins and all the different looks and experiences that you get across the range of Android tablets. Some would say it's choice and variation. Some would say it's inconsistencies and flaws, and segmentation comes to mind. I would say it's part good and part bad, and I think Google can work on that.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. Now let's go to move on to our last part of this conversation. This is kind of just be a free for all. We'll talk about anything, but I think the one thing that's really a hot topic right now is Google Glass, this wearable technology that brings everything you love, or most of the stuff that you love with your cell phone, to your eyes. Now, Google is definitely leading this right now, and Apple seems to be very quiet on this wearable technology. I mean, do you see Apple getting into this space, especially something like Google Glass, and where do you see these two companies going with it?
Yeah, so for a while it's been Apple leading into new form factors, especially the tablet form factor. Apple gets there first, and then everyone follows when they see the success. But lately there's been a lot of, at least a little trend I've seen, where Apple is waiting and letting other people beta test the market, and then entering it with their own features done sort of the Apple way. And I think this is going to be the same case in wearable tech. I think Google is basically the beta tester right now. They're rolling out Google Glass, and they're trying all kinds of things with Glass. The Explorer program it's kind of a hot thing. It's a buzz right now. And Google can sit back and Apple can sit back and look at this and learn a lot from it and people's reactions to the good and the bad, and enter with their own sort of wearable tech, whether it's a watch or some sort of glasses of their own or whatever it happens to be. They have a lot to learn.
Yeah, and it's kind of different. You know, from the past 2 years, Apple has been really charging hard and breaking new markets like they did with the iPad, and some things they did with the iPhone. Now, like you said, they are kind of just waiting back to see where everybody else goes, and it could surprise it with something new, you know, later on in the year. But I think, yeah, definitely iWatches or these smart watches will definitely be the future, and also in TV as well. You know, Google has had its run at, you know, Google TVs with the Sony TVs and these internet connected boxes that run through Google software, and Apple has yet to really answer that with their own actual TV set. They got the Apple TV box, but there's been a lot of rumors about the Apple TV set. You think that's something that Apple can actually succeed in?
Yeah, it's weird because Apple's never made anything that big, and you know, Google's been keen to, you know, even with as far down as the Nexus, they partner up with like a manufacturer who makes the hardware for them. So they've partnered with LG for the LG Nexus 4, partnered with Samsung for the Samsung Galaxy Nexus, and with the Google TV, I think they partnered with LG and Samsung again for those TVs. So whether Apple decides to make their own TV or partner with someone, that's remained to be seen. My guess would be they could partner up with someone good enough and get the panels and the parts in, and I guess assemble it themselves. But I could see maybe a couple years down the road them getting into the TV business.
All right, that's definitely a good point, man. We're going to go and wrap up this interview and this conversation right now. And I think it's pretty good things that we said about Apple and Google. And I think if they just start really learning from each other, I think it's going to make this competition even better between them. It's going to produce better products. So MKBHD, Marques, Brownlee, man, where can everybody find you? What's your YouTube, Twitter, Instagram? Where can they find you?
Yeah, for sure. Everything is at /MKBHD. So youtube.com/MKBHD, Facebook/MKBHD, Twitter/MKBHD, all that. Those 5 letters, that's it.
Right, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. So I want everybody else who's watching this video, leave a comment down below what you think about me and Marques and what we talked about between Apple and Google. And I will definitely check you guys out next week for another episode of Soldiers Tech Battlefield. And I will catch you later. Peace.